Hello, truth seekers. Lawrence here, and welcome to Easy Enlightenment. So, you have been part of the spiritual practice for a while, hoping to free yourself from your mind that is creating fear in your life, hoping to dissolve the struggle and pain from your life. That's the only desire, that's the only reason to be part of the spiritual practice, isn't it? To be free within and outside. But when we reflect in our lives, we know what's happening, isn't it? Whether we are successful in dissolving the suffering from our lives or not. And 99.99% of the time, we are failing to free ourselves. We are failing to dissolve the pain and suffering from our lives. That's the reality. When you reflect in your own life, you know exactly. If you are saying, if you are saying that you are able to dissolve your pain, struggle, fear in your life, I hope it's I hope it's true. But if that is momentary, then it's not true, isn't it? If you're constantly going through the roller coaster of struggle, inner struggle, mental conflict, fear in your life, and that already shows that you're not able to eradicate the fear completely, the mind completely from your life. So that means you're not there yet. The reason we are failing not able to see the plain sight truth, or not able to dissolve the struggle in our lives, is simply because we are taking the detour in our spiritual practice. Just imagine everything you're doing in the name of spirituality is actually making you taking the detour. How would you feel right now? Or let me be straight here. Let me be blunt. Everything you're doing right now is actually a detour you're taking. And that detour is avoiding, you are avoiding to see the real struggle in your life. And because of that denial, we are failing to see the simple, plain sight truth within. You name it. There are tons of spiritual distraction in the world. Whatever distraction you're aligned right now, if that is not taking you in the inward journey in understanding your mind to dissolve the mind, that is the detour you're taking. There are several reasons people are detouring in their spiritual practice. One is people don't know the way. There's a confusion in the spiritual practice. And because of confusion, people are trying different things. No matter what different things they are trying, itself is making them face making them face away from the truth. Second reason is when you understand that you have to give up everything that you have accumulated so far, and you have the fear of letting go of your identity, letting go of what you have accumulated, then because of that reference, you're not able to let go. That's so you're not ready. So you divert yourself from the path to something else, thinking that there will be something else for me without giving up what I have gained. And that's why, when that's why that thinking, that perspective makes people take the detour. And there are, distraction in the world of spirituality. All the fun is outside. Whether it's just general fun or even the the superficial spiritual fun is all outside. And because of that, we take the detour, not realizing that we are taking the detour. The journey towards the truth is about stepping away from the world just enough and investigating in our own mind to dissolve the mind. And this process is about going inward and being with yourself and taking out the layers in yourself. And when you are doing this work, at some point, there's a struggle in the practice, in the inward journey. When you are going through the struggle, or where you are bored of the silence, the ego self trigger us to move out, giving the idea of fear of missing out. The only reason to give up the practice is because of the fear of missing out. Isn't it? Otherwise, why are we failing in seeing the truth? Because of fear of missing out. We have this idea, I can only do the spiritual practice to a certain extent. But after that, I can't do it anymore. I have to take a break. So we move out. But that is still okay if you're doing it right. If you're doing the spiritual practice in a way to witness yourself and peeling the layers in yourself, which is the mind, then you can still work in a parallel approach. When you're new in the spiritual practice, you can walk in a parallel path. You do the inquiry practice and you enjoy your life. An inquiry practice will actually prepares you to let go certain things according to your your environment, and your life. So this is the way to be non-aggressive. People, when people start to involve in the spiritual practice, they just neglect the world completely. When it comes to the divine God, truth, people reject the outer objective, relative world, functioning world, because the meaning is so strong, stubborn, not realizing that that meaning is already coming from the place of ego. The ego wants to be a spiritual self as well. There's many selves in ourselves, and ego, taking the spiritual self is the hardest layers in the human being. So, to make the practice healthy, non-aggressive, non-violent, is by doing the work, clear work every day, little bit at a time. So you be part of the self-inquiry, witness yourself, and trace your mind backward. And when you start to see the spark in your practice, when you see something is really happening in your inward journey, and from that you're really seeing the clarity, connection of how things how things rise and falls from the place of mind. When you realize that you are the one who is watching the mind, but you're not the mind, this clarity invites you to deepen the path, to deepen the journey, to figure out the truth. And at some point, you have to align with the reference that to figure out who you are, you have to let go all the layers in yourself, all the identification in yourself. And when you get there, now the real battle begins. There is an inner war. The war starts to happen when you step in. And when you have to give up everything, there's no halfway to this path. The process is about giving up everything you have identify yourself with. When there's a lot of emotion involved, the mental construction involved in your attachment, you have to detach from them. And if you deny and neglect those, that itself shows that your ego do not want to let go. That means there's a fear involved. Fear of the unknown, fear of not having things, fear of being nobody is painful for the ego. But without going through this phase of darkness in the inward journey, how can we see the truth? It's impossible. Yes, when you when you awaken to the truth of who you are, later you can pick up the pieces and then you can figure things out, how to make things again in your life in a less ego sense, or aligning with the nature way of things. But pre-enlightenment, pre-awakening, it's all about giving up. It's about walking on the fire to dissolve the layers. And this is the way to cross to the other side. Your inner battle is like walking on the fire. It's going against the flow of what the world is doing. There's a saying in the spiritual path that you have to go opposite direction to what the world is doing. It is true. So, to walk on the backward movement opposite to the functioning world, there has to be a real interest or real suffering in life. When you are suffering and when you see that nothing is working in your life so far, that experience can make you align to walk on the fire. So, again, it's about walking on the fire, dissolving, giving up everything in your life when it comes to true spirituality. And you don't have to give up right away. Everything. Allow your self-inquiry practice to guide you along the way. So that would be the healthy approach. Anyway, again, the reason we are failing in the spiritual practice is because we are taking the detour in our spiritual practice. And I'm telling you that most of the time, 99.99% of your spiritual practice itself is the detour. How to know that you're taking the detour from your spiritual practice, the practice that you're associated with, is by reflecting. Am I dissolving or am I adding? And if you're not able to dissolve your fear from your life, if you're not able to dissolve your mind, or if your mind is constantly creating inner struggle, that means tendency is your practice is making you turn your face away from the real path, which is you are taking the detour right now. Because detour is fun, isn't it? Real path is about away from the fun. Eventually, give up the fun. Now, while we're talking about the fun, notice, if you see that everything you are doing right now is for fun, okay? You're associating yourself with something for the sake of fun, or even upgrades in your life. When you have upgrades, there's a fun in life, isn't it? So basically it comes down to fun. So if you see you're aligning with something for fun, you ask yourself, why am I associating with fun? That's it. And the why is going to help you trace your mind backward for the reason to associate with the fun. And see how far you can go, how far you can trace yourself back in the fun. Maybe you'll figure out the root cause of aligning with the fun. And the root cause itself is ingrained belief, attachment, conditioning. And your life is happening right now from the ingrained belief, preference, conditioning. And you have to go beyond that using the same inquiry. Why am I attached to the fun? No doubt, life is all about fun. Look, when we open the eyes and we look out, there is stuff happening, and that colors our consciousness. All experience brings layers in us as fun. Most of the time. Yeah, there's a struggle as well. When we look outside, there's also, fear. But most of the time, it's fun. So why do I associate with fun? Why my action is aligning with the fun? So do this practice and see how far you can go. And this is a simple way to, understand oneself. Understanding oneself thoroughly is the way to see the plain sight truth within. And the truth dissolves all inner suffering and fear. And that makes the life easier. So if you want to make your life easier, painless, conflict-free, then you gotta pause on your detour and start doing the inquiry practice. Okay? I hope this video makes sense to some extent. I hope you're enjoying the backward movement. Keep going. And your thoroughness and your continuity will get you there. And please subscribe to this channel. I know a lot of you, just browsing. Your support will help here. Okay? So subscribe. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Take care for now. Bye.